In the 20 years that I've been covering our border issues, there was always at least one point of agreement on both sides of the issue: that new immigrants should work hard to speak English because doing so would help ensure their success here and also speed up assimilation.
Illegal immigrants who have roots in our country and want to stay should have to pay a meaningful penalty for breaking the law, to pay their taxes, to learn English.
I think learning English is not just important for assimilation, it's important for economic success.
If you've been here a certain amount of time, you've got a clean record, you're willing to pay a fine, learn English.
They have to pay taxes, they have to learn English.
To become American citizens, to be part of the economy, part of the system, learn English, do all the things that we think is an important part of being an American.
I want to clap when I hear that. Well, in today's Democrat Party, things are moving so far and so far left and so fast that the entire speak English sentiment has become radioactive. Enter liberal lion Tom Brokaw. He was appearing on Meet the Press yesterday, and a breath after he was frankly stereotyping border enforcement advocates, he had the nerve to say this.
I also happen to believe that the Hispanics should work harder at assimilation. That's one of the things I've been saying for a long time. You know, that they ought not to be just codified in their communities, but make sure that all of their kids are learning to speak English and that they feel comfortable in the communities. And that's going to take outreach on both sides, frankly.
How dare he say that? Speak English in their fierce outrage poured in almost instantaneously, especially from the 2020 herd seeking an edge in the radical beauty pageant. Congressman Joaquin Castro tweeting to Brokaw, Tom Brokaw, for a celebrated NBC News journalist who spent years chronicling American society, you seem stunningly ignorant of the Hispanic community in this country. Unfortunate to see xenophobia pass for elevated political commentary. And that's not all, folks. It got worse, both on and offline for Brokaw, despite his numerous and frankly embarrassing Twitter apologies.
The idea that we think of American can only speak English as if Spanish and other languages wasn't always part of America is in some ways troubling.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with speaking Spanish. It's an antiquated view of our country to think otherwise.
He's a little out of touch. What he's saying is just absolutely not true. Latinos absolutely assimilate.
Well, this is how bad it's gotten in the Democrat Party, though. Of course, many Latinos have assimilated. But the main point here is English has become controversial. Assimilation in some quarters has become controversial. So to be an authentic, credible Democrat today, you have to believe that the party's views of just a few years ago are now basically racist, xenophobic, and hateful. This is insane. Now, something similar unfolded at Duke University over the weekend as well. The politically correct fanatics in academia put another trophy on the wall when assistant professor Megan Neely, who headed up the university's biostatistics master's program, was forced to step down from her post this weekend. Her crime in an email, well, she sent to grad students last Friday. And in it, she said 2 faculty members had come up to her to complain about students loudly speaking Chinese in a common area. So she wrote that both were disappointed that the students weren't working to improve their English. Neely's big sin was urging them to, quote, commit to speaking English 100% of the time while on campus. Perish the thought. Again, it wasn't a slam on Chinese. It was kind of a ham-fisted way of encouraging folks to speak our language while in our country, studying, by the way, at one of our premier universities. Now, it was ultimately to help the students compete for projects and employment. Why is that a bad thing? The horror. Again, the accused profusely apologized for her language offense, but it didn't matter. The damage was already done. Now, look, as I've said many times, I speak Russian, I speak English, speak English usually time, speak Spanish. It's terrific for kids to speak multiple languages. Being bilingual, trilingual, that gives kids a huge leg up in this economy and a lot of options. But at the same time, English is our national language. And folks who want to come here legally should learn to speak it. There's nothing racist about saying that. at all, unless Obama, George W., and pretty much every American president is also racist. And if an American who's shopping in a store gets, I don't know, impatient when a cashier can't speak English, that doesn't necessarily make the patron a xenophobe or a bad person. They're frustrated. And you know what I was thinking today? What would Teddy Roosevelt think today? Remember what he said so eloquently in a letter read shortly before his death that he had written in 1919? He said, in the first place, we should insist that if the immigrant who comes here in good faith becomes an American and assimilates himself to us, he shall be treated on exact equality with everyone else. There can be no divided allegiance here. We have room for but one language here, and that is the English language. For we intend to see that crucible turns our people out as Americans, of American nationality, and not as dwellers in a polyglot boarding house. I want to become just a polyglot boarding house. It's not just, though, that the English language requirement can set off today's Democrat conformity police. Not just that. Even a two-term vice president isn't immune. Joe Biden was wrapped last week for daring to say a nice thing about a Republican.
I get in trouble. I read in the New York Times today that that one of my problems is if I ever run for president, I like Republicans. Okay, well, bless me, Father, if I have sinned. But you know, from where I come from, I don't know how you get anything done. I don't know how you get anything done until we start talking to one another again.
So, common sense from Biden. Sometimes you have to reach across the aisle. He got slammed for that in left-wing quarters. I love going online to see what they're all saying. Nutso. Now, continuing, even a famous comedian is forced to play by the shifting rules of the left today. Remember when it was announced that Kevin Hart was going to be the host of the Academy Awards? Well, the Mercy crowd dug up 10-year-old tweets and charged Hart with being homophobic. So even after he apologized and Ellen came out to support him, the left would not be satisfied.
With all this being said and all this controversy and all the way ways you've addressed it, is there a hope that you would host the Oscars this year?
No.
So that's an absolute no.
Yes, I'm not hosting the Oscars this year.
Well, the litmus test now for headlining the gig is now so difficult to pass that the Oscars will be hostless this year. Chalk another one up for the sensitivity squad. Nice going, guys. All this demonstrates that Democrats in politics, the media, and academia are zealous about enforcing borders after all. Their own. They aggressively police their own ever-morphing code of progressive ethics. And if you run afoul of them, their mercenaries will destroy you. In some cases, even profuse, abject, yes, embarrassing apologies will not suffice. So today you may be part of the cool crowd, but tomorrow you're all disposable and walking on eggshells to boot. Good luck with that in 2020. And that's The Angle.